Hello, everyone. It's Sunday once again. Special day, the special day of the week, and today is actually a super special episode of Astro Drama because it's a fourth year anniversary, and I can't believe it. 4 years that we've been doing this. I mean, when I started doing Astro Drama, I didn't think I'd last a year. But anyways, it's just gone 6 minutes past 7 here in the UK, and it's 6 minutes past 2 o'clock in the morning in Manila. Hope some of you are still up watching us live. Um, of course, it being the fourth year anniversary special, we gotta have a super special guest for this episode of Astro Drama, and he's here now, live from Berlin. My dear friends, I'm not going to do so many introduction because I want him to get on the show now. So my dear friends, please welcome the gorgeous Mr. Budgie. Yay! Oh.
I'm sorry, blatant plug. Hi, Anne. Nice to see you.
How are you?
Oh, I'm well. I'm well. We're just talking lots of technical things about getting the right browser installed in like minus 30 seconds, T minus 60 seconds and counting. I'm great. I'm back home. I've been on the road for the last 2 weeks, and because that thing I had up in front of the screen, which is my book,
Yes,
we did
I've
the
got it
last.
as well here.
Oh, look, we can make books. Come on, let's
Yeah,
go.
we can. There you
Hello.
go.
How are you doing? I can puppet
So you
show
must be
books.
you must be really tired because you did how many dates in the UK?
It was really not tiring. Just it was kind of like a little journey through the past, really. Because I did it all by train mostly, and apart from the odd little glitch, because it was really hot in England at the time,
Yeah,
so we did sit for about 3 hours while the tracks melted. That was somewhere leaving Wales, I think. I do remember it because somebody. I think somebody got the because we were delayed so long. I think they were kind of timing their drinking so they would arrive at the gig. They were Stereophonics fans, and
oh,
they were getting a bit happy, And they said, "Hey, should we all have a sing along?" And the whole carriage kind of went, "No."
no. Oh, God. Well, I've got to say that Liverpool was absolutely amazing. I mean, hearing you and Will Sargent as well.
You were
Will
there?
Sargent, of course. And that's how I got to. That's how I got to ask you if you
I,
could do After Drummer because I was in the Liverpool one,
that's
and
right.
yeah,
God, oh, blimey. I
yeah,
had so many people that night. I came away with like, not just, other people's music, but my own music from when I was like, 13, 14. The
yeah.
guy who's in my book, David Jones, was in the crowd there. He was seated, and he passed me a little USB stick, said, because I knew I wouldn't get much chance to speak to you. And there are photographs on there. There's like little. No, are there any video clips? No video clips, but there's music, and it was just that I'm seeing my family and sitting with Will. I mean, we've had Will on the podcast, me and Lowell, but I
Yeah,
haven't seen Will in since we were kids.
yeah.
So
Well,
very special, really. Yeah.
yeah, you did look like you were enjoying yourself, and
Well, you
it
have
was
to
a long
try, don't you?
queue. Do you know, it was all like signing the book. It was a very long queue, and I was actually looking at you, and you were just so happy meeting all the fans, and I think a lot of those people are actually friends of yours as well from the old days.
Definitely from all different walks of life. I mean, from Eric's, there was a guy, the bass player in the Spitfire Boys, Pete
Yeah,
Griffiths, was sitting in the front row,
yeah, yeah.
and he says, "I've just come back from seeing Holly's museum thing." So it's like everything's happening all at the same time. Um, so Liverpool was. So did you come up to me in Liverpool? I thought it was somewhere
Yes,
else.
I did.
Amazing.
Yeah, it
And here
was.
we are. God,
Yeah, that's right. And I want to say thank you so much. I didn't think you'd do it, but I'm really
oh.
glad that you did.
I'm
So you
amongst
did
good
say yes.
company. I had a quick shifty around, and thought, hey, you've got some like well-known drummers here. John Mayer was on a couple, maybe like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago,
Yeah. It was for
and
quite long, about 3 hour long conversation.
okay, happy anniversary,
Thank you
four
so
years.
much. And
Yeah.
you're our special guest for the fourth year anniversary.
Mm.
Anyways, Aiden wrote said that the sound is excellent, professional quality, picture too. And the book is great, he said. Aiden is our tech support. Because
Hi,
he's
Aiden.
read, so he's
You,
heard
we,
some of
you're the back room boy. I know. We all need those. I don't have any here. That's what drummers do. Drummers are good at setting up rehearsal rooms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. If you're like
So
me, you are.
you don't need a tech support. I mean, you can do it yourself.
Oh God! I remember that when the Banshees had stopped and we were starting the Creatures, and got to where was it? The depot in like North London, kind of where all the rehearsal rooms are. And so I get there, and at that point I still had drums in flight cases, and so I had like 6 flight cases. They're huge. They're a 4-man job, and I'm just stood there going, I got no crew. And I said to the guys at the depot, "Where's my room?" I remember the Verve had just had their big hit, and they were rehearsing in the biggest studio. And typical of bands that are having the first big hit, they were not in the studio. All the gear was there, all the crew was there, but the band were not there. And my studio was up a little flight of stairs, like about like this behind me, like a little mezzanine, and there was no. There were really no stairs to it. It was like a rope,
Oh god!
and
So you have to carry it yourself. Yeah.
I got the guys to help me. They were all, yeah, they took pity on me, all
Oh
budget
boy.
and the
That's
crew.
good. Well, anyway, so welcome to Ask the Drummer, episode 179. It's all about you, Mr. Budgie, Peter Clark.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah.
Right on all counts.
Somebody actually, I've got to pretend that I haven't read the book because
Me
people
too.
are, I've got to
It,
I've got to ask you things that I've already sort of like found out from reading it. But
yeah.
someone actually asked, how did you get the name Budgie?
Oh gosh. So I realize now, having been asked that question once or twice already,
Yeah.
there are maybe 4 answers to it. Really, the one was the one night when I became Budgie was in Liverpool on Gambia Terrace, which I paid my respects to. I went back there,
Yeah.
and let me see. There was Griff and Paul Rutherford and Holly Johnson, and I'd come in. We were all kind of everybody talking over everybody else, so everybody talking at once. That's how it went. And somebody said something. Paul or Holly said something about you're just like all the same, like just like budgie breeders. And I went, I used to breed budgies, and that was it. It's like suddenly it was budgie, and the next day it stuck. So I used to breed budgies when I was like back in St. Helens, just to put some money together and have something to do. I think keep me out of trouble. And I also liked the 3-piece heavy metal band. Well, they were not heavy; they were heavy rock. 3-piece heavy rock band from Wales. Budgie, in for the kill. Bread fan. And I keep all this quiet when I got to Liverpool, of course, because you couldn't like heavy rock and people like Genesis and Jethro Tull and Deep Purple. So I had to hide all those albums and sell them weekly to get some money together. But yeah, so I had to make a choice when I went to London. Was I going to be Pete from Liverpool, or was I going to be Budgie from somewhere?
Yeah.
So I landed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Squad.
Because I noticed that people from Eric's, like Will Sargent and all those people who went to Eric's, they still call you Peter or Pete. But the rest of the world, they all know you as Budgie. So,
Yeah.
so,
Well, because it's just first name terms. There's so many, as I say, Pete's around. There were many Pete's in Liverpool. There were many Pete's in London, and there are many Pete's and Peters all over the world. And so Budgie. There were not so many. I mean, there was a series in the '60s with Adam Faith playing a character called Budgie, and there was a big Scottish guy who was called Budgie. hey, Budgie. Come, so I liked that. I loved
Yeah.
his clothes, and I copied his jacket for my sister's wedding.
Oh,
And it's still the proof is in the wedding photograph. Sorry.
okay. Well, so you're from St. Helens, born at St. Helens, and it's the first chapter of the book is the Birdman of Morley Street. I'm gonna say I actually went to Morley Street in St. Helens. I mean, we live in Stockport, and St. Helens is just close to us, but we never really been. We never go there. But
Why
for
would you want to go there? You see?
but for Astor Drummer, I thought, oh, I'll go there and have a feel for it. So I went to see 138 Morley Street. It's got a white door. I don't know if it's still the same as your
You know, I
old door.
told you about the USB stick that I got given. On
Yeah.
that was a photograph of me with really long hair stood outside 138 Morley Street. And I could see from the angle of the photograph that I recognized the front door. I think at that point it was bright yellow with like a black door
Oh,
knob. It'd been bright red at some point, like pillar box red. But the front windows on the house were stained glass windows. There was stained glass in the little fan light as well
oh,
above the door. And
yeah.
of course, all that's gone because I've also been past
Have
138
you?
Morley Street recently. Yep,
Yeah. Well,
totally changed. Yeah.
well, I stood so like in the middle of the street or the road, and I looked. I had a photo taken holding your book. So
These are things I've yet to do. You've beat me to it.
yeah, and it's actually got a nice view from where your house is. If you look sort of like down
Down
towards
towards the town. Yeah, as I
yeah,
described, if
yeah,
when I was a kid, I could like lie on the floor and see Beecham's clock, the clock face on the tower, which was, way down.
yeah,
And I dug a photograph out because, of course, the street's gone. The street lower down was demolished, and they demolished everything around that part of St. Helens and rebuilt it as kind of like what I imagine the Rise and Fall of Reginald Perrin, which is a book I loved when I was a kid.
yeah.
And everything was called like Wordsworth Close and you know named after poets and things like that.
Oh,
Everything became curved rather than terrace rows, and all that was left before they built the little curvy little streets was the off license or the outdoor or the place where you got your booze and your crisps and your pop. And the pubs on each corner. There was a pub on the corner of nearly every street, and they
yeah,
were like sentinels, just like the last bastion of another age. Anyway, so yeah, it's a high point, that little street. Yeah.
yeah. Well, Morley Street still looks kind of old, but the one next to it, like Oxford Street, I think it is. I mean, the houses look like they were new. I don't know why, but on
Yeah,
Morley Street, the
yeah.
houses still look like they're
I met
old.
somebody. I met somebody from Oxford Street. We used to play football. I've still got the scar on my knee where I kind of hit the gravel because we had cobblestones on all the other streets, but Oxford Street kind of got modernized first. So we had this
Yeah.
rough tarmac gravel with like those kind of very sharp little bits. Got one embedded in my knee.
Oh no, no.
Didn't put me off though.
Yeah. God, it's like because from your book, it seems like you had so many accidents. I mean, now you're telling me about the football one. It's like always so like ending up at the hospital and
Oh,
not
I mean
realizing.
that was a little later on. I prided
That was
myself.
later on, yeah, yeah.
No, I prided myself for many years. I've never been to hospital. I've never broken a bone. Touch wood. Um, I still haven't never broken a bone, but I have visited hospital a few times,
Yeah, that's
and always after a wee drink. Yeah.
yeah. But going back to St. Helens, because I do like, because I'm originally from the Philippines, so I do like finding out who are the famous people from, the drummers, where the drummer is from. So St. Helens, I found out that apart from you, um, Rick Astley is from St. Helens.
Not
Or
gonna give you up. Never let you
Newton
down.
the Willows, which is apparently
That's a
part
posh
of
part.
St.
Yeah, Newton
Oh, that's
Willows.
the fourth
Yeah,
part, yeah.
posh part.
Uh, Yeah, and Jackie Abbott from the
The
beautiful
Beautiful
South.
South,
She's
yes.
from St.
Yeah.
Helens. Yeah, yeah.
Never met, never met.
No,
And of course, the famous one.
you.
Oh no! I thought you were going to say Johnny Vegas.
Oh, can I see? Oh, yeah, because I only looked for musicians and singers and things like that.
Oh,
So Johnny Vegas from St. Helens.
I
Okay.
think
Yeah,
he could qualify as a almost a musician as well. I'm
oh
sure.
yeah.
I bet he's good for a song after end of the night. But he's a
Well,
good,
there's
good
another one
dancer as
that
well.
the Lancashire Hot Pots.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if you've heard of them, but I keep seeing them so like on Facebook that they're doing gigs and things like that. I haven't been to one of their gigs though, but yeah, so Lancashire Hot Pots, they're from
See, yeah, I was very much more leaning towards Liverpool and lobscouse. They call it lobscouse. You like lob anything into the pot, and that's
oh
scouse. You called it lobbies. I- as soon as I say something like that, I kind of get this Liverpool twitch. Lobbies, like, you know. So, yeah, Lancashire hot pot was more of a kind of perhaps a specialized dish, you know.
so even though you're known as Budgie, you still have Peter Clark on your passport though. You've not changed it into
I
Budgie.
kind of wandered off. Yeah, Peter got lost somewhere along the lines, and my family always kind of kept me anchored. So that there was always when I went back to St Helens, if when my dad was still alive, I'd go down the pub with him, and they would say Bernard's brought young Peter along, and because we were on top of the pops, with the Banshees, we were on there like at least once a
Yeah,
month, or when we were busy putting singles out. And of course, if you're on top of the pops, you're on television, you've got a bit of money in your pocket, you've already made it, of course. And you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you don't line all the drinks up and say, drinks are on me, you're tight fisted. And if you do, then you've got no money left because you haven't really
yeah,
got
that's
any.
right.
Anyway, it was
Yeah,
nice. It was nice. And really, though, also, you just really, when you go home, it's the only time you get to see your folks and you want to be just quiet, maybe. But
yeah.
that's the price you pay for being on the telly.
Well, are you from a musical family? I was just
Apparently not. Apparently, I found instruments around the house, but nobody played them. There was an old banjo with strings missing. There was a harmonica, which of course I have here. Yeah. The
yeah,
old,
yeah.
that's not the one. I mean, I've got a collection of these things now.
Oh,
But there was a Jaws harp, there was a kazoo, there was a beaten up old guitar as well. All things that kind of hinted at music, but I never no. There was no music handed down to me.
all right. Did you have a drum kit at
Well,
your house?
I did eventually, but not until Mum had gone. When my mum died, it was like I was 12, um, and all that kind of music stuff kind of hit just after that moment. It was even down to the music I played as well. It kind of got darker very quick. It sounds strange, but the Spirit in the Sky just came out by Norman Greenbaum, and it was
Oh, yeah.
I just warmed to the guitar at the entry of that song. It was really distorted guitar. It was better than the distorted guitar at the end of the Carpenters' "Say Goodbye to Love," which also started to tug at me in a different way. It wasn't a sentimental love song. It was like a, a kind of a howl to the loss of my mum. And that's what I found music was doing for me, was giving me somewhere to feel uh, that loss, as a
Yeah, yeah.
and but I didn't kind of put them together. It was like it was a private moment, and I was a bit kind of embarrassed by. I didn't want to embarrass other people or make them feel I don't know, uncomfortable if they went. So
Mm-hmm.
nobody said sorry about your mum, or well, not that I remember anyway. It was like the way that things happen then was just you move on and you don't talk about things.
Yeah, yeah,
So perhaps
yeah. That's
what
true.
this is kind of all about is, well, certainly the book, I mean, is me getting back in touch with myself and the past. And along the way, surprise to me is touching base with people like David, who I mentioned, from
Yeah, yeah,
when we were kids, and
yeah,
it's the conversations you never had.
yeah. Well, I've got to say, the book, this one, The Absence, first chapter, because I've got to tell you that I cried twice reading
Oh,
the book. The first time, it was like after the book event on the train back to Manchester from Liverpool. I thought I'm gonna start reading it, and then of course the first chapter you talked about, your mom dying, and basically, I mean, this is what the book is about,
mm.
missing your mom and your mom being there. So I thought, oh my god, I'm gonna cry, and I'll tell you the second time I cried reading your book later on, but
Okay. Wow. Well, I'm still alive, but you're frozen. I wonder what's going on. Are we live
yeah,
again?
you're alive. Yes, you're live from Berlin, and I'm in
This is
Stockholm.
so brave. It's really, I don't know anybody who does a live stream podcast. I know it's fraught with anything can
All
happen.
these glitches, but it doesn't
I know.
happen all the time. But I don't know, maybe it's just all the excitement coming from me because I was really nervous. I thought, oh my god, it's
Me
Mr. Budgie
too.
coming
Me
on.
too.
I was like, but anyways,
We're both old hands at this. We should be, we've been doing it a while. But no, every now and then you get a little flutter, and you go, whew, what's
yeah,
going
yeah.
on? Anyway, we're back.
We're back, and before we actually continue what we were talking about, you having your own drum kit, Yorkie Palmer says hello. Do you remember
Who?
Yorkie Palmer? David Palmer? Yorkie's in space, and he's in loads of bands. So he was in the band with Mick Head, and so he said hello.
Okay, well, hello.
And also Joe Musker.
Oh,
Joe Musker said that he's enjoying your book, and he also said that he joined the Liverpool music scene a year after you left. So
oh, there you go.
he never
I
got to meet you.
No, we say hi, Joe. Anyway, hi, Joe. Hi.
Yeah. So yeah, we were talking about you had your drum kit. Um,
Yeah,
did you have proper drumming lessons?
never. No, no. I thought that brushes were for playing drums quietly, so you could actually hear the recording that you were playing along to. But that's how I learned. I learned by playing along, and
Yeah.
I actually learned the first time on stage was with probably a husband and wife, organ and drums, on a Sunday afternoon in a local working man's club. And the curtains parted, and I was still tying my drum kit together, and they just said, "Just play along." And I was thinking, what do they mean? What do they mean, play along? I don't know this. And I just started kind of tinkering around, and really, just picking it up as you go along. I can hear by those early recordings I was just past.
Yeah. Well, would you say then that it's a gift that a drummer, being a drummer, it's you've got to have it in you to be
Oh,
able.
well, it must be something because I could dabble on other instruments, and I still do. But somewhere along the line, I felt like I can do this drumming thing. But I mean, I watched Topper when I was with the Slits, and
Yeah.
I have a funny kind of way forward, from the Spitfire boys and Big in Japan. Even Big in Japan, I took over the drum seat from somebody else. Um, and they only had one song, so it wasn't that difficult. But when I joined the Slits, I knew their songs because I'd met Palm Olive. We'd hung out together.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the original drummer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was straight away. I was kind of given a blueprint, and also asked to do or somehow expected to bring something of your own to the table. And that became second nature, really. And I suppose it was just like listening to records when I started playing. Like, how would I do that? Because I didn't have the technique that was, given to, or taught to you how to do, I don't know, say like 16s on the hi-hat, and or how do you syncopation even.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, the very basics, you kind of just pick it up. Um, yeah,
So it's got to be in you. I mean, you have the gift, and that's what for
I
most
yeah,
drummers.
yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I used to, break furniture, rock very hard in my rocking chair, and slam into the back of chairs. In time, though, it was essential. I was in time. I couldn't not be. I could not be in time. Um, I liked dancing as well. I kind of gave dancing up when I started playing drums. I always thought drummers make bad dancers, but I think that would have been my other, maybe my other vocation if I hadn't,
Being a dancer. Yeah.
well, some kind of show off,
So from playing drums with this, with the couple. So what was your like first proper rock band, or the one that you played in lots of gigs and
The first one that we played some gigs would be
yeah,
The Spitfire Boys. I
yeah,
mean, the cabaret band we played at weekends, mind you, sort of the Spitfire Boys, and I think probably Chuck and the Young Ones got more gigs than the Spitfire Boys and certainly earned more money. Um, so the first real, you know, I got to London. I played with Clive Langer, and Clive really kind of introduced me to people like Glenn Matlock, who is the
yeah.
ex-bassist from the Sex
Sex
Pistols.
Pistols, yeah, yeah,
Um, and really, that was when I started to get into some of the London studios. And for instance, I also played with Steve Lindsay, who was monikered as Frankie Average in the bass player with Deaf School. So,
yeah,
so
yeah,
I eventually got to play with most of Deaf School, and that was the reason I'd gone to Liverpool in the first place, was to try and see if I could get myself into that band. I never did, but I met them all in London. And so this is and you had to learn quick. I suppose that's the make or break of it, really. If
yeah,
you can't get into whatever in a studio, the microscope, it's like everything's magnified. You hear everything, and you've got to follow instructions quickly as well.
yeah,
So perhaps
yeah.
perhaps it was like I was ready. Yeah, it felt like I was ready.
Yeah. Well, in Liverpool, you were in big in Japan with Ian Brody, Jane Casey, but I found out from your book that there's also another band with Ian Brody called Secrets. I tried googling it. There's not much information about Secrets, so but
It
that's
was
with
such a
Steve
good
Lin-
secret. We kept the secret really
yeah,
well.
it's a good
It was
secret.
where I actually, with Steve Lindsay, with Frankie Average, he was the bass player because he come in to help us to, I think, to flesh out the first recordings with Big in Japan, or the only recording. I know Holly played the bass on most of those tracks, but I think when we did the secrets, it was me, Ian, and Steve, and I think he was also working songs out for his own solo project. But what we did in those little gigs we did, and they were like in Kirkland's Wine Bar on, the main
Okay,
street
yeah,
going down in Liverpool. We did a version of Dear Prudence.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
because of course, being in Liverpool, we all knew the White Album, and years later, when the Banshees were looking to do, a covers
cover film.
album,
Yeah,
yeah. So, Dear Prudence came up, and I thought, well, I know that.
you already know
I'd,
that.
I'd already worked my parts out, and then of
Yeah,
course I knew the song backwards. Um,
yeah.
yeah, The Secrets, that was a good one. There was another one. I just met a chap called Hugh. I think it's Hugh Jones. I can't remember if that's his surname. But we had a fondness for a little song called "Son of Sam" by a band called the Chain Gang.
Okay,
And
yeah,
I think actually Son of Sam was one guy, um, and it was just a raucous kind of thrash thing from
yeah.
New York. And me and Hugh did that one time only, in the same wine bar. I think they just pulled the plug and kicked us out.
Oh, well,
Which
I actually, because I found out, because you're in big in Japan and also Secrets. I mean, that's the one that I thought, oh my God, I need to find out more about Secrets. But, anyways, I got a bit so like, I took the courage to send a message to Ian Brody and ask him, do you have a question for Budgie? Because I'm going to have Mr.
no.
Budgie on the show. So he said he's not seen you for a long time. But
Do I owe him money or something?
no, he said that he's come up with a question. He said, in a dream, would you prefer to be Ringo Starr, John Bonham, or Charlie Watts?
Oh,
That's from me
sweet.
and Brody.
You know, let's see. Well, Charlie and John have both left the planet, right? They've gone.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I almost got to take to play drums with Robert Plant. I met Robert Plant recently, and he said, "I asked you to play drums for me, and you didn't." I went, "I couldn't. I was busy. I'm really sorry."
Oh,
So
God.
he said, "It's okay. We got Phil Collins in." So
Oh, wow.
Phil routine the band, and I thought, "You got Phil Collins in, and you asked me." I was kind of like ducking and weaving and getting all embarrassed, you know. I loved Led Zeppelin, but I'd never any intention of emulating Mr. Bonham. Charlie Watts, I loved also the Stones, I suppose, in many ways. I knew a lot of, I only knew like really Sticky Fingers around that time. They were on the radio a lot. Um, I think I would, if Ringo had decided to, if I, in my dream, I think I'd like to have been on those sessions with John and
All
George and
right.
Paul.
Okay. I
And I
don't know.
know that that's not possible either because the others have all gone. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well,
I
I
would
don't
have.
know if.
He was just a fly on the wall when they were doing Sergeant Pepper's or even Let It Be, or Abbey Road was a
Yeah,
classic. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know if Mr. Brody is watching, but I will let him know that you chose Ringo. Ringo's
Uh, I got Ian's book is right there. I think
yeah.
yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. You know what's
Well,
lovely? What's lovely about when you do get round, if you get round to writing something like a memoir, it's like when I read Viv's book, Viv Albertine, Slits
yeah,
guitarist. I knew nothing about Viv. We just were in each other's lives every day for about 6 months or a year. And similarly with Ian, I knew his sister. I never met his parents. I never met, he had a brother, I think. But I didn't know much. We didn't know about each other. And I'm sure there's a lot of people pick up my book and go, we had no idea what had
yeah,
just happened to you.
yeah.
And so it doesn't surprise me in many ways. Oh, I just got a little message from the lady who posts my social media, and I put a little video clip saying tonight live stream podcast.
Oh,
I
right.
must have, so it's too late. Sorry, Margie.
So,
Anyway, where was
yeah,
I? I digress. But that was a nice question. Yeah,
yeah,
thanks, Ian.
well, well, thank you so much to Mr. Brody for that. But also from this secrets, I don't know, but you're also in the planets with
Oh
Stephen
gosh, yeah,
Wilson.
with Stevens.
Yeah, were you?
Yes, I did. Well, that was one of the first studio things I did, and it was
Oh, okay.
the studio was in Dean Street, and I was just over there in London doing a BBC radio thing, and I'd met somebody in Dean Street, and there was I forget the number, but the door where Tony Visconti had his studio, Good Earth Studios,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's where we did the Planets album. Steve, his solo
Oh,
album, really. He formed a band, but it's really his solo album.
yeah,
And I rehearsed, and we had, I think, I remember the guy. It was like when I went in there, I think I kind of talk about it in the book, but they just probably presumed I was the session drummer coming in. I'd never been really in a studio before. And I was just kind of bluffing it, going like, yeah. That mic, I was a little close, I think. Yeah, move that one over, bring the overheads down a bit, kind of. And they were asking me, how do you get that snare drum sound from David Bowie's Low? Well, that's what we're. And of course, we're in the studio where the engineer who works for Tony Visconti would have
Yeah.
known the secret of the snare drum sound from Low, and nobody was telling.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but if you've heard, but Steve Lindsay is gonna come up with a new album. Cause yeah,
Well,
and
about time too, Steve.
I think it's gonna be on the Last Night from Glasgow label. Because I've seen
Okay.
the advert for it, but yeah, I look forward to it as well. Because hopefully he'll do some gigs, and it would be nice to go and see him. But so I had to look at your Discogs entry just to see what other bands you were in.
Okay.
There's one called European Toys. Now I can't find any
No,
information.
that sounds like when you said sometimes you get like on PRS or something like this,
Yeah.
like 10p comes in from some band that you actually were never a part of.
Oh,
And you think if it was a substantial amount of money, you have to put your hand up. But you go, oh, 10p, it's like not even worth the stamp, is it?
I was wondering whether it's another drummer called Peter Clark because it's
Well, maybe, but I was also credited in one of those like vinyl history things, and I
yeah,
was like credited with like Big in Japan and probably the Planets and the
yeah.
Slits and the Banshees and Budgie. I got
And yeah,
credited with
that's
all of their albums. Budgie's also done a lot of solo albums, and that even happened when I was playing. I was in a band called the Jimmy Norton Explosion.
yeah, that's
With
another band that I was gonna ask you because that's the one with
that,
Glenn
that
Matlock.
that was Glenn Matlock and Danny Cousteau from the Tom Robinson Band, and Steve New, who was later with Rich Kids.
Yeah,
And I love Danny and Steve. We had such a great, quick friendship. Danny especially. Both of them sadly not with us anymore. Glenn is alive and well and playing with
yeah.
Blondie until Clem also left us.
Oh God, yeah, yeah.
So many people, but it was like we did a John Peel session, and it was some of Glenn's new songs.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah.
one of them was called Getting Away with Murder, and I actually got my harmonica on there. I was going like,
Oh,
I was like, that's not the part, but it was kind of like that. And
wow.
at the end, like I sort of like I was going, and John Peel went.
Fantastic.
John Peel said, "Give me that harp, boy." And I thought, John Peel just acknowledged my harmonica playing in all its naivety. And because Captain Beefheart was a big hero and a huge influence, the drummer on Clear Spot especially, huge influence. I not directly, but I think when I was looking for new ideas, without realizing it, I was digging into not Trout Mask Replica because I couldn't understand it, but Clear Spot. I really loved the invention of drumming on that
Yeah,
album.
yeah. That's one band that I think, it's cool to love.
Yeah,
Especially that album, Trout Mask, because every time, because I work in a record shop, and every time I get a copy of that one, it
it
goes
goes.
in. Yeah, it's quite a lot of money as well.
Clear
So,
Spot's mine. Those little golden birdies, look at them. Boom,
oh,
boom.
so I'm glad that that you're with Jimmy Norton's Explosion. And so from then on, you became a member of the Slits, and you're the only male member.
Yes. In
The
fact,
only.
Jimmy Norton was between the Slits and the Banshees, but
Oh, right.
it was after doing, let me see, the things with Clive and Steve, and of course it was our manager. I was with Frank Silver. We're all looked after by the same manager. I just joined Frank's, little club really, and Frank had taken over looking after the Slits, and that's how it happened.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I became the token lad.
Yeah. Because talking of Palmolive, I noticed that in your book, every chapter has got a nice drawing,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's all yours.
yeah.
It's all your drawing. Um, have you ever had an art exhibition
Never. But
featuring?
now I do. Now it's in the book. That's my first public viewing, if you like.
Yeah, but do you still have them? Like all of these drawings on like
That's the
paper?
reason they're there. I was looking for something and found that my little old briefcase, it's like a case, it's down there on the floor. And all my sketchbooks from Liverpool are in there. And it's usually before the music started. I
Yeah.
really was putting everything into my drawing, not so much painting at that time. And strangely, when right years, decades later, when Susie and I split, the first thing I did once I'd left the house and found a place where I could have my own space for a moment
Yeah.
and figure out what was going on, I set up a situation where I could draw, and I had horses and I had chickens and cats and things around me on a farm, and
Yeah.
I started to draw every day. And it was just like they say, when you ride a bike, you don't forget. It was like no time had passed. And in many ways, I felt more able because the noise in the head, the doubting voice, the voice that says, "You'll never be an artist. You'll never paint like David Hockney." Because as a young guy, that's a youngster, that's kind of what I thought of. You were the voice in your head kind of got in the way. Except when with drumming and music, there were so many of us going, "Who cares?" That there was all the pressure was off. But
Yeah.
with painting being such a solitary one man affair, it felt like,
Yeah.
Um, but I feel, who knows? I don't know what comes next now. I always said if you do a record and it's successful, that's great. Why would you need to do a second one? I'm glad we did. But I did one album with the Slits. I did one album with Steve Lindsay. One
Yeah.
recording with Clive Langer. One album with the Indigo Girls.
Yeah.
One album.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of
With several albums with Susie and the Banshees.
quite a few with Susie
Yeah.
and the Banshees and the Creatures.
And the
Yes.
creatures as well. But the reason why I'm asking you is I don't know if you've heard of an exhibition called Crash Ride Snare. It's an art exhibition, but
Yes.
everything in it is like about drummers. It's all drummers' artwork. And when I saw your drawings, I was sort of like thinking you could, you know, put could have an entry there because Palmolive's got one. So
Okay.
Palmolive's got, I think, a painting there as well.
Well, that would
And
be interesting, wouldn't it? We can get all of the different drummers we've all
yeah,
interlocked already.
yeah, because also Chris Musto from he plays drums with Glenn Matlock now. He's also got an entry in that art exhibition. And they last year they were in Liverpool,
Yeah.
and then they went to Dunoon in Scotland, and I think they're gonna do one in London.
Okay.
So the one who does the exhibition is Nick Cash from the members.
Oh yes.
Some of the members, and I think he's always looking for drummers to contribute to the exhibition. I
Oh,
mean,
put us in touch. Yeah,
yeah,
curate me.
yeah, I will do. I will send him a message at them because I thought, I was just looking at them. I was like, this would be brilliant. Because the drummer of Teenage Fan Club, Francis McDonald, he does similar thing. And he's done 2 exhibitions already showing his, like drawings. So I was
A lot
thinking,
of
you
us
could
as
do the
well. A lot
second.
of us came via art school, certainly around that time.
Yeah,
Glenn and people, they all went to like art college. There were more people left my art college that year, 1977. It would have been. Um, we wouldn't have had Henry Priestman and the Christians, or Albert Dock, or as they became yachts.
yeah,
Yep. It's kind of interesting. I see it very much in terms of writing and music and drawing. there are decisions you make, and you're not sure why you make those decisions. They just kind of feel right, and I think
Yeah.
that's when you're in the zone, when you're somewhere close. Yeah,
Oh, another thing that I've noticed from the, because I like looking at the pictures. You know, when you buy a book and then there are pictures in the middle.
yeah.
And one thing I've noticed is you like doing the photo, the photo booths. You've got several of them. I was like, oh, this is
I was
brilliant.
always in on Liverpool Lime Street. There was
Oh, I see.
a photo me booth, and I've done them all. As soon as I got to London, I was doing the same thing at Elscote Tube Station. I used to live around the corner. I
Yeah,
took my dog with me. That little dog who's in there.
yeah,
She was from the Batsy Dogs Home, so she was a rescue dog. Um, I loved. There's a book. It's called. I think it's called Interviews. Here it is. I think it's on this. Uh, yeah, here we go. And it's one of my favorite one. It's Francis Bacon, and there you
oh,
go. It's David Sylvester. It's interviews with Francis Bacon. This book even made David Bowie's top 100 books. And when you kind of like rubbing shoulders, sort of along, like choosing the same books, you think, yeah, me and David, we're probably birds of a feather. It's a fascinating book. It's just like there's other images in here that Bacon used, like these things. You know,
oh, yeah,
so they're like photos of movement by
yeah, yeah,
Edward Muybridge. But there's loads of Bacon self. So I wanted to do my own little Bacon things. You know,
all right. And using the photo me booth.
well, I didn't have a camera and we didn't have
Yeah,
phones then, so that was the only way you could do it.
yeah.
And that's the same thing. I found them all. I knew I'd kept them somewhere. It was in the Observer's Book of Birds or the Observer's Book of Modern Art or something. And there they all were, chucked into the book, kept nicely flat in the same little brief suitcase that had the sketchbooks in it. So
Yeah.
I just dug them all out, and then I was working with Natalie Dawkins at Orion Books, and we had a ball just going through all these old photographs. And of course, you're limited to how many you can put in,
Yeah, yeah,
And so I wanted them to tell a story as well. Hence the quite a poignant one where it's the family, and then I've repeated the image below with
without,
with my
yeah,
mum missing.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I didn't know how it was gonna be received or perceived, but it told a huge story. It was the whole thing in many ways,
yeah,
because there we were, my brother, my sister, and me, and my dad, and my mum was central in the photograph, and there she was gone,
and it's just
and
gone.
and the photo gives you this blank space. It said everything to me, and the rest of it was just, the usual me pushing a pram, me looking like a little girl in the pram. Um, and everybody used to say, "Oh, isn't she lovely? What's her name?" Because the hair was all curly. And
Yeah. I get the impression that you like to keep things. You're
oh,
from.
yes, the hoarding. It's it's not that bad. I could be a lot worse. I've got my own little attic room up here. And it's mostly full of books.
Okay.
Um, I mean, obviously moving around a lot. When I left France and the place in France, I mean, I do remember Susie saying, "You left all your shit behind." Like, um, I left with, like, as I said, drums in flight cases. I had a lot of recording equipment, and it just kind of followed me around until I could sell it or get rid of it. I had no furniture. I had very few clothes as well. So
Yeah.
I tend to My dad used to have jam jars full of nails and screws and bolts. He was a joiner by trade. And
Oh,
so
okay.
he
Yeah.
always had something to fix something with. And if I've inherited anything apart from perhaps his good nature, it's probably his love or his what's the word? Inability to throw away screws and nuts and bolts. And and drummers do that. We have felts and washers and twisty bits and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just really sweet as well that in the book it says that you talk to you used to ring your dad every week and just to tell him where you are or where you were and
yeah.
what you're doing. And I thought it was really, really sweet because
I'm in.
I
I'm
lost,
in. Go on. Sorry.
well, yeah, I lost my dad when I was 16 and I sort of like missed that bit as well. So,
Oh, I know. I know. And it's. I loved phoning my dad because I knew he couldn't travel. He was he got Parkinson's disease for a good 10, 20 years of it, end of it towards the end of his life. And so he couldn't travel, and he said that it was so frustrating because people thought that you have mental problems, mental health issues, but it was just that your body's not responding, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it was lovely when I called him every Sunday from France. It was like I could be little Peter, and he could be the dad who I remember as active and able-bodied.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
when we spoke to each other, we could just make believe, and it was very sweet. Yeah.
yeah. But did they get to see you play? Uh, has he been to your
Oh,
gigs? Or-
my mum and dad, my stepmom actually, as it would be, Elsie. They never got to a gig. No, never saw me
Oh,
in the Banshees. They saw me on Top of the Pops.
yeah, some of the pops. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's
But
our
not
Peter on the
live.
telly. But the rest of the clan, all the brothers, sisters, cousins, and yeah, their nephews, nieces,
Yeah, yeah,
they show up at a few. They loved it when we played the Royal Albert Hall in London.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Bit of a
Well,
special.
can I ask you now about Susie and the Banshees? Because in your book it says you said something that you made a doll, a
Oh,
Susie Sue doll. This was before you were part of Susie and the
oh,
Banshees,
way
because
before. Yeah, this is
way
Eric's.
before. Yeah, because I've got John who sent in several questions about Susie and the Banshees, actually, because he wanted to know if you already knew about Susie and the Banshees before joining the Banshees.
I saw them at Eric's club, probably maybe the first time they played Eric's or the second time. The poster was quite striking because it was an image of Susie with, like, I think two or maybe three microphones strapped together, which with the idea being I can be three times as loud, which actually doesn't work. But I didn't know that, and they didn't know that, so it looked good, looked really good. And that was just it. It was the only time I'd ever gone home from a gig and if you like responded to it in a way with some kind of creative gesture
Yeah,
or and it wasn't a puppet doll. It was literally copper wire and red wax, and it kind of forming a figure, and it was only the microphone stand and that was kind of acting as a thing to hold the whole thing up, and it was only like this fitted on my desk in front of me, and I did it, and I looked at it, and I thought that's pretty cool. And I didn't do another one, and I didn't, light candles and say weird spells and say, "I'm coming. I'm gonna find you." I did eventually, but not because of, I don't think, any hocus pocus on my part. Although I did like Hocus Pocus by Focus, I must admit.
yeah, I like that one too. But have you still got it? Have you still got
No, no, no. I
that?
don't. As I say, I don't have very much at all from those days. I have
Yeah.
Spitfire Boys singles somewhere. I mean,
All right.
I do. I have books and I have little tiny little things that fitted into this little suitcase I carried around.
Yeah.
I have the dental wax that I made it out of. Yes, a box of red dental wax that a sculptor friend of mine gave me, but I never. I had no way of transporting it. It fell to pieces. The wax went hard. Yeah, it
Oh.
lost somewhere in Egbert in Liverpool.
Oh. Because I don't know if I got it right, but you showed it to Susie too, and she wasn't.
Mm, no, she never saw it. No, I may have
Oh, you
told
never
her.
saw it. Like,
I
you told
don't
her
think
about it.
I don't think I told it to. No, I wouldn't have said that. Oh, by the way, I made this little effigy of you back in the day. I would have felt a little weirded out if somebody said that. No, no, really, no, 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 no.
I, I actually saw Susie Sue last year in Wolverhampton. She's absolutely amazing. I mean, I love Susie Sue. I mean, in the Philippines, Susie and the Banshees were massive.
Really?
So, yeah, and I don't think you went to the Philippines, but you were in Japan.
Yes.
You went to Japan, and you were massive in Japan as well. So, but yeah, my age, my generation at the time when I was a teenager, lots of us were into Susie and the Banshees. And I remember going to the university in this jeepney, like a public transport. In those days, jeepneys are like the thing, it's almost like a club because you hear the best music.
Yeah.
It's a 2 hour jeepney ride from where we live to the university. And I always make sure that I chose the right because I used to hear like Hong Kong Garden and Christine and all those things. And yeah, just to let you know that you were massive. You're massive.
I met some Filipino fans, if you like, after the Banshees finished. When I was doing, let me see, I was doing a thing in Hong Kong.
All right. Yeah,
And of course,
yeah.
there's a huge Filipino community in Hong Kong.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
And they all came out the woodwork when we were doing this kind of. It was like 3 drummers. There was myself, Leonard Eto from Japan, Mabi, who I'd met in Juno Reactor from South Africa,
Yeah.
and we had I forgot his name. Oh, come on, Sugizo from ex-Japan on
Oh,
guitar and violin,
yeah.
and Knox Chandler was on guitar, and we just put this thing together in a week in Hong Kong, and loads of people came, but lots of little Filipino people saying with all Susan the Banshee stuff for me to sign,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
was going, really? Wow, okay.
That's good. But yeah, but in the Philippines, it's part of the new wave scene. I know it's not
Yeah.
new wave because it's more like goth, isn't it? It's goth rap. It's the new wave goth.
It's a bit
pop.
like the shirt you're wearing in Morrissey with his
Yeah.
Mexican contingent. We couldn't believe it when we were playing together. I think it was on like something like the Weenie Roast run by MTV, whatever it's called.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole audience was like Mexican. It was just like we crossed the border. Well, we hadn't, but it was crazy. Hundreds of little Morrisseys with a quiff.
Well, I was all like wondering what to wear for today's episode, but then I thought because there's a duet, a Morrissey
Yes.
duet.
The duet that almost never made it.
Yeah, that's right. You're already married to Susie Seward at the
Yeah,
time.
I was in France when the conversation started, and it just got more and more strange as the weeks went by. They chose a song. They were going to meet up and record that song.
Yeah.
I remember a time when it was Susie and myself and Morrissey and his colleague or partner, and we were in a booth. It was like a pub somewhere in the West End. I think there was just the 4 of us. There may be more. But the conversation suddenly went weird when Morrissey turned to his left and said, "Would you tell her that, or would you ask her?" He didn't speak direct.
Oh.
And that was like, that that's when it just went, nah, this is not really going to happen.
Have you
Well,
read this book?
oh yes, yes. It's a long book. I think it starts off beautifully written, and there's some very funny moments. I think you have to really get into the Morrissey way of the world because he has a wicked sense of humor, and he doesn't hold his punches, you know.
Well, one word that I remember from that book is churlish. Because,
Churlish. It
and
was
it's got
rather churlish of
I just
me.
said because it's got something to do with Susie Sue. Because Susie asked for where the
Oh,
taxi.
and it is and that's the other thing we always have to remember. It's always one person's point of view,
Yeah,
the person
yeah,
who wrote it. It's not necessarily the truth, but it's basically what they were thinking, rather churlishly.
yeah.
And and if you could stand clear of it and not feel in any way attached to any of the characters, you would probably think it really hilariously funny. Um, and I only hope that in many ways there's a lot of humor hidden. There was always humor hidden in Susie and the Banshees. You
Yeah,
know, we
yeah,
were, and I think in most bands, it was never really as dark and serious as maybe the press would lead people to
yeah.
believe. And
But
so there's
you,
always a pinch of salt, just a little grain of salt and sugar, like
yeah, yeah.
everywhere, yeah, for you to
Well,
slip on.
your book is actually like a brilliant glimpse into your world, into the Susie and the Banshee world. Because I was saying to my husband, my tech support, that well, I don't want to say normal people, but people like me and him, it's so like a different from ours. Because being in a band, and from what you mentioned in your book, like the
Ah,
drinking, and also like,
none of
the
the things they're all things that happen everywhere else.
I suppose so. Yeah, yeah,
But there's something about maybe it's also common with drink or maybe drugs. For me, it was more the alcohol that kind of it puts you on hold in a way. Puts your for me anyway. I speak for myself that it kind of kept me like a teenager in the head, and hence all the accidents. I know teenagers are accident prone, right? Because they have no fear, and then you give them a drink, and they've got no fear whatsoever.
yeah,
And you know that we're lucky if we survive teenage dumb. Um, but it's just that really. There was growing up was put on hold in a band. I mean,
yeah,
and
yeah,
bit like being a circus performer or a fairground ride person. That's what I liken it to, joining a band, joining the fair or the circus,
yeah, yeah. Well, I
living
get it. I get the feeling that you're so innocent, or but then you're thrown into this world, this sort like in a band world, and sometimes, I mean, it's not good to laugh at those accidents, but it's like, oh my god, he was taken to hospital again in a wheelbarrow or something. And then, like like when you were filming the video for Dear
yeah,
Prudence,
prudence. Yes, 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 yes. You can see. I would say you don't see many films where we were not pretending to be inebriated. We'd been out there all day in the sun, and we sat down and had dinner, and we quaffed a few bottles of wine, and then did some night shots, and they were going to be like just reflections in the canal, the Venice Canal, romantic. But there was a lot of kind of falling over and really funny and yet ridiculous and a little dangerous as
dangerous.
well.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the next day, of course, I had to hop back from the hospital because nobody was really that, they just like, oh, not again. And that's what my drum tech, Joss, long suffering Joss Grain, would say, oh, Budgie, love, what have you done? Because he comes from Yorkshire, and it's a bad
Oh,
Lancashire or Yorkshire. I can't remember. Sorry, Joss. But it was always, oh no, oh Susie, love, what have you done to your leg or your foot? Because she quite often went on stage barefoot, and you've no idea what you're going to find on a stage usually, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is just really, it was kind of like always prepared to leap into the dark without a safety net, you know, to see what happened next because you had to push it that hard, that far.
But would you say though that you've always got angels? I think you believe in angels, like looking after you.
I think
There was,
they've embraced me so much. I have little choice in the matter. I mean, my mum is probably sitting right here. I always thought she was sitting watching, somehow around listening and watching, not
yeah,
in a good way. I was kind of like, oh God, I can't do this. My mum's watching, you know. I don't know. And then somewhere it changed. You know, probably once I'd quit drinking, that it wasn't. I could sense my dad's breathing because we have the same nose, and my brother too, who's also not around, and it was
yeah,
just that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because um one thing that you wrote there in your book about this Brazilian prayer silk
Yeah, yeah,
thing
yeah.
that you had, and I was all like thinking because it seems like she just appeared from out of the blue. It's almost like you're so lucky. You've got all these angels
I
looking after
Yeah,
you.
it could be the one. It could be just one angel coming in different
That's right. Yeah,
guises.
yeah,
And I think
that's
it's a
true. Yeah,
guardian angel
a guardian
if you
angel.
kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
care to just extend that gratitude in a way that you come out of it still intact, still able to like think and make decisions. That when I saw, and it was pretty much a few days after I'd crashed and burned in Sao Paulo, from Mexico City, where
yeah,
I'd been drinking right through the night with the crew. That in Sao Paulo, it was the kind of the first time I'd shaken all night. I didn't end up in hospital. It wasn't an easy letdown, if you like. And when we got to Rio, I remember looking out the hotel window and I kind of describe it. I just thought, I don't want to forget this moment. And that's when I saw the ribbon and I unfolded it. And there was a long prayer, probably in Portuguese.
mm,
And that's when, and the little card that said it was a prayer and it was for the Virgin Mary statue in a little village north of Rio. And I
yeah.
just followed instructions. I just followed instructions. You know, I met somebody who'd come across in the same point in their lives, a saxophonist from Los Angeles who I met up with in Milan. No, not Milan. Barcelona. And we worked together in LA. But he had the same ribbon, tied 3 times and making 3 wishes, and it was just uncanny that we met, um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and shared that story. That
Wow.
I suppose it basically validated for us both that we didn't imagine it.
Yeah. Have you kept it? Have-
No, because it was falling to pieces. It was
Oh,
hanging on by one thread and it refused to go. And of course, I guarded it with my life. People going, oh, just pull it off. And it was like, no, don't touch it. Don't touch it. It's like, it means that it meant everything.
important. Yeah,
And then
yeah.
one day, and that's what I shared with this David, this chap, and it just fell off, and that was it. I think
Oh,
I buried it. He threw his into the sea, but that was 3 years later. I thought it would be
wow.
like 3 days, 3 weeks,
Yeah, yeah,
3 years, and 3 years to the day, I found myself with Susie and John Cale as the creatures back in the same hotel in Mexico City where I'd had my last drink, and it was 3 years later, and it was all just too big for me, and way too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. and it kind of just said to me,
Yeah.
something's going on that you are kind of need to maybe try and figure it out a bit more, because there's something powerful going on outside of you, and that is really what I know. I just kind of turn up and let the world direct me. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be here with children who are waiting for me to go and take the dinner out the oven.
Oh my I'm so sorry. Well, I'm gonna sort of like go through it now quickly, but um, John Walker again has got another question, and he said, I think this is a long shot, but do you think there's a possibility for Susie and the Banshees to do a one-off show?
Hold on, let me just call. We got that question again, guys. I think it was the deal was done on the 7 year Itch tour. I think that would have been the reunion, certainly on the cards when Susie, Severin, myself, and Knox Chandler came along for that last little stint. It was a 4-piece band. We didn't.
Yeah.
Martin McCarrick, who'd been with us the longest in the last version of the band with John Klein. But that was it, really. I think we thought we were going to start writing new material then. We thought this was the beginning maybe of part 4 or part 5 or part 6, whichever it was. And it didn't happen. And Susie and I went back to the Creatures, really.
Yeah.
And I know, I've heard anyway, I think Severin has said as much, whether he even has a bass guitar or whether he would even shoulder a bass guitar one more time. But, and maybe even I have moved too far away from what it meant to be in that band. I always thought we didn't want to be just a legacy act doing, the old way of doing things.
Yeah.
In many ways, I always think, and I think it's something we fall into, is when you get so familiar with the songs that everybody wants to hear, you tend to not do them justice in a way. They become so familiar, and you've developed new skills. They lose their charm on the bedpost overnight, said the Queen to the Bishop. And I think that's it. I think sometimes best left as they were, in their best form. I can understand Susie going out as she did, to do Cruel World and then to do those other shows, because it wasn't the Banshees. It wasn't trying to recreate something.
Yeah, it's just Susie.
It was Susie going back to her lyrics, her melodies, and and the band doing a sterling job of, trying to get those beats right. I think they did really well, but they had to get extra guitars and whatever. Yeah.
Did you go to any of the Susie?
I couldn't. Well, I couldn't. I mean, here in Berlin, I think she came to Berlin. She may have played at Huxley's, but I didn't. I wasn't here. I was also working as well, quite a bit at that time.
Yeah.
So I was working with John Grant, and I did another album with Hercules and Love Affair. That was a good little ride.
Well, John also said that, I don't know if you've seen Last Night in Soho. It's a 2021 film. I don't know it at all, but he said that it's introduced a whole new generation of young people to Susie and the Banshees. So maybe it's,
okay.
I'll see if I could see that one on Netflix or whatever. So we're gonna go. So I know you've got dinner, but Susie and the Banshees was the last gig was on the 21st of July 1995, and the support acts with Oasis and Faith No More. I mean, what do you think of the Oasis reunion?
I have not paid much attention. I think the last thing I saw was Bobby Gillespie smiling as he was up in Wembley Stadium somewhere. I was in France when Oasis kind of ascended and hit their peak, along with the whole Oasis Blur kind of, not Blur,
Yeah,
yes, Blur,
the
Oasis
Britpop.
Blur, Oasis Blur,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
from a distance, I wasn't really taken by either, band. I did feel that Oasis were really, I wouldn't say rehashing, but were leaning heavily on the Beatles
The
catalog.
Beatles.
It's
That's
been
right.
said so many times. There's nothing I can say, but I wasn't part of the uh, what's the word? The passion,
Yeah.
and so the reunion doesn't ignite any memories for me, and so it just kind of, it's just another one of those things.
Yeah.
It's like Guns N' Roses wouldn't do it for me either. Black Sabbath would only just about do it, but sadly Ozzy's just gone.
Yeah,
And
he's
I
been
don't think I'd seen a rendition of Sabbath without Bill Ward, and it was another exercise in beefing up the past.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I find them more often than not disappointing, and so I'd kind of stay away. I even seen Kraftwerk in a current version.
Oh,
It's well, I didn't the glasses and the little 3D show. It was
yeah,
everywhere for a while, and we were on tour at the same time, playing the same festivals with John Grant, and it was kind of too weird to see Kraftwerk on stage and off stage, backstage, and not recognizing any of them, and like it didn't really matter. The music was all going
it's
on, but
yeah,
I still have such fond memories of hearing Autobahn for the first time and its kind of clunkiness that to have it, supercharged and super digitized. Mm,
it's different. Yeah, it's
it's
different.
a different thing, yeah. So nothing against it. Just kind of, I moved on. That's kind of a thing. What I feel.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Al Baker said Hercules and the Love Affair, just wow. And he's also said, he wanted to ask you what's the story behind the Creatures and Right Now and Wheels on Fire. He said, I love those singles. They weren't the Banshees, but sounded right there in the same camp.
Oh, I think the creatures did Right Now. The Banshees did Wheels on
Wheels
Fire.
on Fire, yeah, yeah,
Um, the thing about the creatures was it was just two of us. The magic was just two, and so we could move very quickly. And not that the Banshees didn't work quickly, but the creatures was more like doing a Banshees B-side session all the time. Whereas we did with Susie and the Banshees, people say, "What's a B-side?" The B-side was the extra track on the other side of a 7-inch black vinyl single. We had to do a B-side and two extra tracks for the 12-inch version, the dance floor version of
yeah,
the
yeah,
remix of all this historical stuff is all written about somewhere. But we had to work really quickly. There wasn't much budget. We didn't have much time either. So that was really the beauty of the creatures. And I didn't have to ask anybody, was it okay if I go and play this bit? It was just like,
because it's
get
just
on with
you
it.
play this, yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah,
get on with it and see what happens. And so a lot of invention
yeah,
in the studio. Yeah, and that kind of attitude to things is something that I'd hope would kind of carry forward into whatever I end up doing next. It certainly was with me with the book,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
because you lean heavily on other people's experience when you're the only, if you like, musician in the studio. That Susie would play some tune percussion and come in with the vocal melodies and lyrics. Um, I'd just be jumping around like Dave Grohl in that little film where he's like playing everything. Um, yes, 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 Dave. Hopefully a little more imaginative. Ooh,
Well,
ooh, um, scratch your eyes out if you're not watching. No, it's just that it's like teamwork of a weird thing. It's like you're the one who's kind of just carrying the idea, and you have to bring other people in and get them on in the right frame of mind, really, and accept what they give you. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, talking about the historical sort of thing, the creatures actually the first used, with the internet and modern technology and all that. Because I looked it up on Discogs again. The gift horse CD, free CDs that you used to send to fans or part of this forum and things, they're actually worth a lot of money. They're worth a lot of money because they're quite rare, and I don't know how many releases, but on Discogs there are three of them. And
Well, the first one was Exterminating Angel, I think, the first gift horse, and there was 1,000. We had 1,000 CD covers, and we painted them. They're all done by hand. You don't realize how many 1,000 is, really, until you
until
see
you
a
see,
1,000 CD cases all lined up. They go a long way, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So you have to kind of get Jackson Pollock about it, and kind of slop stuff around. Yeah, that was really a lot of fun. And the whole creatures thing with the gift toss was a lot of fun. It was a cottage industry based in France. And you can only do it for so long. I almost think of podcasting in a similar way. It's you have to get on the wave, ride it until it throws you off.
yeah.
um,
Yeah. So I mean, I wish I'd known about it because it was like, what year was it? It was 2000 or something. It was already the
we
20,
let's see, because we
21st century. Yeah.
yeah, I think 1999,
Yeah.
2000 we went to Sydney and played the Olympic Games opening ceremony as creatures. And
Yeah.
so we had already, I think, Anima Animus was written and recorded and not even released at that point. I think it was. But that's when we run into, the misunderstanding that why nobody wanted to release our music. It was just like that hadn't happened before. And so we just released it ourselves. We just,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
um,
And
yeah,
send it to fans with some fanzines and
the whole thing was like really thinking outside the box. What could we do that would make it fun and different? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I could talk to you for hours and hours and then because you're absolutely amazing. But I'm gonna. Have you? Is the book tour over, or are you going to do another one?
Right now, I did the last one. Just let me see, what day are we on? Sunday. It was on.
Sunday the 3rd of August.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
did the last one on the 31st of July, last Thursday, here in
Oh,
Berlin. And that was great. That was at Rough Trade. Big shout out to Rough Trade, because they were like, London was a major one. That was where
yeah, yeah.
John Mackay came down with his band.
Oh wow.
Original
Yeah,
original guitarist with the Banshees.
yeah, yeah.
I gave him a
I
big
think he's
hug.
doing a tour.
I just said, John, he said, I know it wasn't a conscious decision to leave the band that day. And I know he said it many times. I'd seen a lot of interviews with him just recently. And it's interesting hearing the other side of the story. And of course, it's kind of lost in the mists of time.
Yeah.
But had John and Kenny not left, I wouldn't have had anything to join. And this would be a very different story I was telling
That's
you,
right.
and different story I was writing about. Of course, one thing certainly wouldn't have changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, the story continues to change, and that was just a wonderful kind of joining the circle. And John signed me a copy of his new album as I was signing a copy of my book.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
That was sweet.
yeah.
So, are we going to do more? We're plotting. We're plotting something later in the year. Let's get the summer out the way. I'm still digesting everything. I can't really
Yeah.
believe
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
book sitting here, and yeah, it's quite something.
Well, I gotta say, the second time I cried, I was on my way to London when I finished the book, and then the last paragraph there when he said, "You realize it wasn't your fault," because I told you about my dad, because my dad died in the UAE, in the Middle East, and for a time I was sort of like thinking he didn't have to go there, because
No.
but then I suppose because you know money was tight, and
Yeah.
university I couldn't take exams before because I couldn't pay the tuition fees and stuff, so he had to go, and then he died, and then when you said that it wasn't your fault, and I just thought, oh my god. So I was on the bus and I was crying. I was like,
Oh
oh
no.
my god,
Oh, the
yeah,
merciful the release of tears.
yeah, yeah,
It is a
yeah,
long time coming, and when you said you cried, and I didn't realize the power of even reading my own words, and I thought, oh, have I got something in my eye? And I'm reading, and I realize it's really it's affecting me again, and it's powerful stuff. And I'm so pleased that you've just shared it with me, and you've shared it back to me, and in a way that you remember of how we internalize rather than you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Thank you, actually, because I mean, I wasn't conscious that I was thinking about it, but then I realized, yeah, I was sort of like thinking, I wish if I hadn't complained about not having a lot of money back then, and maybe it would have just stayed at home and things. But anyways, so Curious Creatures podcast. Any news? Because at the moment you're not doing anything.
We're
So
not. No, primarily because you and I are talking with an hour's time difference.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
When Lol and I,
oh yeah,
LA is now what? Let's see, we're 9 o'clock.
the
Just
morning, I think.
it's about quarter to one in the afternoon.
All right, yeah,
So it would usually be Lol midday, me 9 o'clock, and depending on where the guest was, and it could be Australia. We did have a link up with Nick Loney, the producer,
yeah,
Loney, and we were trying to figure out what time of the morning it would be for him, where we could all be in sync. And really, because what it's like when you're getting prepared for one of these things, I have to kind of get psyched up, and
yeah,
so
yeah,
I'd be
yeah,
ready to go on now and be ready. And then it would go on for about 2 hours, and then I'd take me a while to kind of wind down. But it was more that my family wanted me back, and I didn't realize I was doing an album with Lol. We were doing the podcast. I was
yeah,
writing my book, and suddenly I become very, very disconnected from anything else except me and Lol and Jackknife and nothing to do with those guys because I love them dearly. But it
yeah,
was more that I had to, for my family's sake, say one thing at a time, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's everything's changed again. So I, for the moment, I'm thinking I have enough
Will you
because
be? You will
I've
be
never
small
been
though.
so busy. When so it's and I'm no complaining. It's just so wonderful.
Yeah,
But I walk my dog. I cook food, and still I'll be off on tour. It's always really nice going around Britain. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, your dinner's waiting. Four quick
it's
questions
probably
that I always.
bird to a frazzle now.
Well, the questions I always ask our guests: do you twirl when you play drums? Because I've never seen you play live. So
Do
do
I
you
do I what? Twirl?
twirl sticks?
I never had time to twirl. I
No.
never learned how to twirl, and I never wanted to twirl. I liked the guy in Sweet. He twirled,
Oh,
and those guys, those drummers, they could. And I even saw a little demonstration of how to fake the twirl. Doing things with the wrist, and then it looked like it was spinning. I no, I
not
wear
for you.
gloves. I wear gloves, and I made my sticks an inch longer. This is nerdy drum stuff. So that the extra inch on my drumsticks, which were like toppers boppers, only called budgies bashers, so that I had an extra inch before they slipped out of my hand, with sweat. And it's only recently I started wearing gloves because I quite like the look of them, but they really grip the stick a bit like a golf glove.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
Twirling, not for me.
not
No,
for
not
you.
not no 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 no. Too busy hitting things. No, if I got time to twirl, I'll hit something.
Well, drumming heroes.
Oh gosh, drumming heroes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, because I've never really Art Trip. Art Trip is the drummer on Clear Spot with
Oh,
Captain Beefheart. He doesn't
yeah.
play drums anymore. He's been a chiropractor, orthopedic kind of guy
Well,
for many years, and I
change.
like that. I like the way he went in and did all that stuff that kind of certainly changed my understanding of drums. Um, I don't have big heroes in the sense of technically accomplished drummers. I like. Mm, I loved the guy Martin Chambers who played with XTC.
Oh,
He just had some
okay.
interesting drum patterns. If you listen to the
Yeah,
drums on Making Plans for Nigel,
yeah, yeah,
still love that. I liked Jerry Marotta on his drumming on Peter Gabriel's solo albums. And I got to hear Jerry's drum tracks when I was working with the Indigo Girls in Woodstock.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so hearing his drum tracks away from the music, I suddenly understood what all the talk was about, with grace notes and the drum beats in between the beats you hear. And I
Oh,
realized
right. The
that's the technique.
technical, yeah, the
Yeah,
technical side of
that's the
drumming.
technique I was never taught and I didn't understand. And I had to devise my own way of feeling the gaps in the beat, if you like.
Yeah,
Mitch Mitchell, Jimi Hendrix. Never wanted to play like him, but just loved the sound of that three piece in
yeah,
action. Um, right up to, can't think anything more contemporary
recent, yeah,
right
recent,
now. Love listening to Wire. Love the sound of their drums.
yeah.
Um, Sometimes I listen to me and
Eh,
go,
Lol, lol, dollars.
"Lol, is
Yeah,
a maestro just lol." And he does that Charlie Watts thing where he misses, never plays the hi hat and the snare at the same time.
huh? Oh, yeah, yeah,
Well, you check it out. Check it out. Go check out these little videos. I
yeah,
sometimes you get asked, "Can you play that drum beat?" And you try, and you go, "My God, how did you play that?" You change over time. The muscles do different things.
yeah,
And had you written, we'd looked at the beat for Into the Light on Juju, I think I would find another way of playing that beat, or the drum fill in the middle of Israel, which comes straight from Jerry Marotta on No Self Control on Peter Gabriel's Two, or whichever one it is, Melt, or whichever one
yeah,
you call it.
yeah,
But it's just that listen, adapt, borrow, steal, as Picasso would say, and then I don't know, move
make it
on.
your own.
Yeah, maybe just borrow it, steal it, make it your own, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And I suppose that would be your advice to aspiring drummers. And
that's it. I think that's
yeah,
it, isn't it? Yeah, it's like listen, borrow, and adapt. Yeah.
yeah, right. Well,
I think I'm going to write that down. I think I need to remember that for myself because it's pretty much the same in everything. Don't copy, don't study. Just listen and make up your own version. Use it as the kind of springboard for
yeah,
your own creativity. Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you so much. I'm really grateful
Oh, do you
because
think we got there? I think we got there, didn't we? We got to
well,
that moment of like, yes, we got it. We got the moment.
yeah, thank you. You're
Oh, thank you.
so kind, very, very kind. You don't know how happy you made me, and I just want to say to everyone, buy a copy of this book. It's absolutely incredible. Even if you're not a fan of Susie and the Banshees, but still buy a copy of the book because the stories there and the memories that
Yes.
you
Well,
know.
it's your podcast, you see. It's Ask the Drummer. You see,
As
why would you ask the drummer? Because he sits at the he sits at the back and he sees everything.
Well, thank you so much. And advance happy birthday. I know your birthday is this
Oh,
month.
yes. I know, I
So
forgot. Well, another one I'm going to remember, hopefully.
enjoy your day and
Oh,
when it comes. So and thank
yes.
you so much to your family for letting you, do this and
One,
to
oh,
like.
they're all arriving. I've got to go to the airport and pick them up now.
Oh
And
my God, I'm so sorry.
no, everybody's traveling. And but one more time, happy 4 years, happy 4 year
Thank you so
anniversary.
much, and thank you for being my guest. I'm
I'm
so
I'm
grateful.
honor. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
I hope to see you again soon. If you're doing another book tour, I will go and see you again. Take
Thank you,
care.
everybody. Thanks,
Thank you.
really,
All
everybody's
right.
watching.
Yeah. Thank
Take care,
you.
Anne.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh my God. That was so good. I still can't believe it. I just feel so lucky that, he said yes to Ask the Drummer. And once again, this is the book, The Absence Memoirs of a Banshee Drummer by Mr. Budgie. And I mean, I'm not really. I don't read a lot of books. I mean, I try to, but I don't finish a lot of them. But with this one, I've got to. It's, you start, you read it from the start, and it's like, oh, you wanted to carry on doing it. But I'm such a slow reader. It took me a few days before I actually finished it. But thank you so much, Mr. Budgie. Gorgeous, gorgeous man. And yes, we're 4 years. So thank you to all the awesome drummers that we've had on the show, and also to all of you, my dear friends, who've supported me. And I also want to say special thank you to Denise and Tim, because they're the ones who initially told me that I could do this, 4 years ago, when I said that it would be nice to ask drummers, because most of the time it's just musicians, it's just the singers or the guitarists that people ask, interviews and stuff. And I thought, why don't they just ask the drummers? Because the drummers are so amazing. They've got such wonderful stories to tell. So thanks, Denise, for saying that I could do it. And thanks to Tim as well. Right. So, oh my God, I'm just so happy. Next week I won't be here because I'm going to be at Preston Pop Fest. And also because I've got a dear friend coming over from the Philippines. So I'm going to be doing like a tour with him. So there won't be Ask the Drummer next week, but I'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another awesome drummer. So please do join us again on the right. Well, in 2 weeks' time, anyways. Not this Sunday, but the coming Sunday. And as always, love music, love life, love drummers. Yes, Mr. Budgie there. He even played the harmonica for us. Oh my God, it was so good. Thank you so much, and hope to see you all again soon. Bye for now. Bye.